Hey everybody and welcome. This is Heather Dewar-Carden coming to you live from Ask Dr. Heather. I am still in Dallas. I want to just pop on here and give a little bit of recap. I know it's late. You guys should be in bed. We should not be on our phones. I'm breaking all the rules and laws, but my head will not shut off. And if I don't share what I learn, I'm going to order some ice cream. Actually, I kind of tried, but it's like an hour wait and I'll be in bed. So anyway, just being super honest with you guys. So we heard, been down in Dallas now for 3.5 days, 4 days, and heard some amazing information. We know keto is the biggest word. I'm not going to go into defining that, but we heard from some of the leading researchers, doctors, MDs, PhDs in that field who didn't just join the keto conversation like last week or last month or 2015. They've actually been digging in the trenches for some of them decades, and some of them have committed their life. Like Dr. Ken Ford has actually been in ketosis, I think, well over 20 some years. He took a small break and then went back into ketosis for another 15 years. So anyway, I just want to recap some thoughts that we shared. So thank you for your comments down below. I'm not ignoring you. I'm going to stay focused. I have my sidekick, Dr. Teresa, here, going to shout out some of her things that she learned. But what really stuck is, I say this all the time, is that so often, food are choices. And once you learn the truth about food, like we don't need sugar, there's no essential carbohydrates, then it's really up to you to make those choices, because we know that oftentimes people are actually ready to make health changes. Either they join a gym or they join a weight loss program, or they, start get walking, which is amazing, but sometimes they don't finish that because they really don't get to the ground root, or they don't fully understand that a diet is really just an interruption of your normal lifestyle. You actually have to change your lifestyle in order to be successful. So being ready to make your life better or make some dietary changes are what's really super important. And inch by inch is a sense. That's why oftentimes I'm like, just quit whatever sugary beverage you're drinking, whether it's wine or soda or juice or sports drinks, whatever it is. Just start with that first, because that's the easiest thing to cut out. And then we start with breakfast, and then we start at the other end of the day saying have your last meal 4 hours before you go to bedtime. But today I just really want to go through the speakers and recap kind of quickly what I learned. I want to share with you. I really thought if everybody could hear this information, it would be amazing. I know I'm not doing due diligence to the speakers, but I do want to be mindful of your time and know that when we're talking about the U.S. food pyramid, a lot of people start pointing the finger at Ancel Keys. He was just one of the people that actually helped make this whole food pyramid what it is now and what we're trying to change. And Dr. Colin Chapp said it is actually the biggest mistake we ever made, and share it and shout it out and let people know, because on that food pyramid it suggests that we need to have 8 to 11 servings. So it was not just only it was a Framingham study, it was the Women's Initiative study, it was a Better Health Heart study, Ancel Keys. What happened with that is people cherry picked the data, they didn't have a control group, and they said, you know what? And they looked at healthy individuals, not the sick population. Well, let's just up the carbs, down the sodium, cut the fat, and let's see what happens. And that's kind of what happened. And now we know that we are in a society that is honestly fat, sick, and nearly dead, where 2 out of 3 women will get cancer. We know 1 out of 2 men will get cancer. We know that 80% of us will die due to heart disease, which is an inflammatory disease. And we heard some alarming stats about kiddos. We know that 1/3 of us by the age of 75, actually, by the age of 75, 3/4 of the population will be diabetic or pre-diabetic. There right now are currently over 1 million diabetics or pre-diabetics. That's a 1-to-3 ratio. And we know that kids as early as the age of 10 are getting diagnosed with diabetes. I've been out of school for a little over 20 years, and 20 years ago, type 2 diabetes was something diagnosed in people who were 70 or 80 years old. We had a couple medications on the market. Now we actually are trying to make new medications, because by the time you get diagnosed at the age of 10 or 12, one medication stops working or causes problems, and you have to have another medication. So we've got to go back to that pyramid, and we've got to go back to the basic knowledge, which is we came into this world burning fats for fuel in that state of ketosis. We know we have essential fats, we have essential amino acids, we don't have any essential carbohydrates, but we just like the carbohydrates. And we're also told to eat them, right? That's why he was so adamant about getting rid of that food pyramid and start listening to what's happening. And I love that the trend or what's disrupting the whole entire nutrition, fitness, wellness, medical community is this low carb keto conversation. There's a huge tug of war going on, but the great news is the rope is going to the right side for once. So I'm super happy about that. So you've got to be ready. They talked about readiness, ready to make some healthcare changes, ready to make some life changes. Start with you first, and inch by inch is a cinch. And know that your body's pretty resilient, right? Like you've been eating bad for maybe 10 or 20 years. It's been pretty resilient. Maybe you haven't gained excess weight. Maybe you haven't become diabetic yet. Maybe you don't have any heart disease yet. But know that over time, if you don't allow a recovery period for your body, that all adds up. That's why these stats are so alarming. So Teresa, what else did we say we're going to share today? Oh my gosh, Dr. Ken Ford, don't feed the zoo animals. Think about that for a minute. Have you guys been to the zoo? Like we have a little farm by my house, and you can go pick quarters in and you can feed the fish and feed the fish. And as many quarters as you have, the fish will feed all day long. So when you talk about feeding the zoo animals, is that what we do? Like, hey, I'm like early to pick up my kids. I think I have time to drive through. Or, you know what, I'm not really hungry, but gosh, I'm watching a TV commercial that sounds super good, so I think I'm going to eat something. Or you go to a friend's house and like they're food pushers. I am guilty of being a food pusher, hopefully a organic, healthy, keto, low carb, high fat food pushers, because I'm always like, try my fat bombs, try my fat cookies, try my granola. But we are really all guilty of feeding the zoo animals, right? Kids come home from school, they don't tell us we're hungry, but we think they've got to have a snack. They're going to practice, they need a snack. We're getting ready to go to bed, we need a snack. So we are really guilty of feeding ourselves like zoo animals. So I absolutely love that. What else do we have, Teresa? I mean, I'm going to let her chime in here while she's looking through her notes here. So we learned that actually in 1822, so 200 years ago, this is before we had processed sugar, processed grains, the average person added about 6 pounds a year. That's added sugar to their diet, so 6 pounds a year. By the year 2005, this is the same year that we went to eating 5 meals a day. Pyramid was induced, the one that we look at in about 1978, 77, the research was done. So by 2005, we're already eating 5 meals a day, which means we are eating an excess of sugar. This isn't sugar found like in red bell peppers or carrots or raspberries or fruit. This is excess sugar we're putting on there, 100 pounds a year by 2005. And then currently we're doing about 130 pounds of excess sugar a year we're adding onto it. So if you're sprinkling sugar on your grapefruit, if you're putting sugar or some type of creamer in your coffee from the International House of Sugar, I call it, all that stuff kind of adds up. So I know people put sugar on their oatmeal, and whether it's turbinado, brown sugar, it's still sugar. Your body just processes carbohydrates, whether it is cakes and cookies and pies or organic blueberries and strawberries, it's still to your body, it's a carbohydrate. We process it like sugar and we get glucose. It just may be a little bit slower, and if you eat a blueberry, you may have some more antioxidants, but your body still gets sugar. So I mean, again, it was just a dynamic day of just hearing from these top thought leaders about traumatic brain injuries. We know that 1/3 of the U.S. kids, so I have 4 kids. Hey, and some of the people who joined me here, so Dr. Lola, if you remember something, shout it out here. 1/3 of U.S. kids eat fast foods every single day. So I'm proud to say, mother of 4, I don't think any of my kids ate fast food today. I probably should check in with them because I have 2 at college, but they don't have money for fast food. Anyway, 1/3 of U.S. children eat fast food every single day. So if we go back to that supersized theory and know that everything's got additive, it's not homegrown, it's not organic, and when you buy something food-wise, you're always going to have, I mean, how many people order water on the side? Like it already comes with an orange drink or now a juice, which is supposed to be better. So 1/3 of U.S. kids, that almost makes me sad. We also know that, again, they're basing some of this on the WIC, which is actually a program that's instituted for women who maybe they're single moms or don't have money, can be also be married moms, but it's actually used to help cover for diapers and formula. It's a WIC program, but now we know that since we've instituted the WIC program, that the diabetes rate for type 2, that age has actually dropped down to a little bit over 10 years old. So that's kind of sad as well. What you got, Teresa?
There are 25 clinical trials using the ketogenic diet in cancer.
So we also heard from a couple different cancer doctors that there are 25 clinical trials right now, which is amazing. We love clinical trials about using the ketogenic diet to treat cancer. So you can Google cancer and the ketogenic diet. What I encourage people go is go to YouTube, hear real people's stories. They're not clinical trials. They are people's real experiences. And you can Google ketogenic diet, low carb diet, natural therapy diet, even Mediterranean diet and cancer, or the Gershon Clinic. They also have a large cancer protocol, which is juicing just a lot of cruciferous vegetables. But look at that stuff. Go to YouTube and listen to people. By the time you get a clinical trial done, who knows how long it will take, but real people's experiences matter, because what happens is these experiences are what inspire the researchers when the noise is loud enough to actually start doing some of these clinical trials. So Dr. Cap said that the WIC only gives low-fat milk. That's absolutely true. So you go from breast milk, which is like 50% MCT, to low-fat milk, which has really no fat in it. And we know babies need fat. So there's just a double, thank you, Dr. Caps. That's another kind of double bam we're doing there for our kids. So we talked about being a zoo animal. You know, I think what we should all do is we should strive to be a better animal. So that was actually Dr. Ford as well. He's funny, so I quote him a lot. Just do it. Shoot for more. Recreate yourself. If you know you're a carbitarian and you're hooked on sugar and you have a pattern every morning and every evening of what you do of pre-feeding before you go to bed, and you know, as soon as you wake up, you start feeding, you actually can change that. You have the ability to do that. The only person that puts food in your mouth is yourself. So these little 10 fingers, if you have 10 fingers, are what pick up the food and put it in your mouth. So you have the right to make that change. I just wanted to just bring you some awareness of some of the stats I was shocked by, and I think I'm kind of up on the current literature, but it just is powerful to hear it from other people about what we're doing. We talked about traumatic brain injuries and CTE. So whether it's your toddler falling down and banging their head, your kid having soccer headers, maybe your daughter's in gymnastics or cheer and having their heads, or football players, any of those contact sports, we know what we've been doing. I shouldn't say the Gatorade, the sports drink on the side is actually harming what's happening in the brain. And then we started talking a lot about Alzheimer's, dementia. I'll do a whole follow-up on Broken Brain series. I just really wanted to talk about some of the current stats there and what's really happening, because it makes you excited to know, you know what, if the cancer stats are that high, it's really inspiring to hear that leading thought leaders are going around sharing the information. We have clinical trials going on, which leads to inspiration, right? So your story matters. If you have an amazing story, shout it out, use social media. I mean, I've been practicing for over 20 years. We didn't have Facebook, we didn't have internet to file our claims. So now we have this avenue. Use your voice. Your story counts. Your voice counts. Whatever it is. Hey, Josh, thanks for joining. I said I wasn't going to call out people's names, and here I'm doing it. But it really does matter. So I do inspire you. If we're talking about broken brains, jump over to Josh Collins' Operation Torrent page, Facebook page, and follow some of the amazing and incredible stuff he is doing to help veterans actually reduce the suicide rate. We know it's at least 22 a day. I know those studies are much higher. So Teresa, anything else? Yeah, we've got like whole pages of notes. So I wanted to just shout out there and let you know that what we've been doing isn't working. We're all pretty evident of that, right? Being a child of the 80s, which means high school in the 80s, college in the 80s, there was no peanut-free zone at school. We had one nurse. I've said this a couple times for my entire school district, not 5 nurses for one school like we have in my children's school now. But what happens is that you have to be ready. So we talk about readiness, resilience, and recovery. The great thing is that your body can recover. So if Teresa needs a kidney, I could potentially give her one and it could potentially work. If she falls down and breaks her leg because I run into her with a luggage cart, if I run over her foot and break it with my chair, her body's going to heal. That's the great thing. Your body really does want to recover, but you've got to get in there pretty early. So the earlier you find out the correct information, which is about sugar and about proper sleep and about proper hydration and proper movement, the more likelihood your body's going to be, that's the resilient component, the more likely it is you're going to start to actually anti-age yourself. And we learned that 1 teaspoon a day additional actually ages your body 1.6 years. I know back in the day, my grandma used to tell me if you didn't wash your face at night with your makeup off, it would actually age your skin like 6 or 7 years. Now we know that just 1 extra teaspoon of sugar a day actually ages your body and shrinks your brain 1.6 years. So that means if you're a person sprinkling just a little bit of sugar in your tea or coffee, and a little bit of sugar on your toast or your oatmeal, maybe a little bit of sugar on your fruit, all that stuff adds up. Or you're just having a little bite of chocolate before you go to bed, that stuff adds up. So what I really encourage you to do is actually, I'll post one down below when I get done, but just take a food diary and write down what you're doing when you're going to bed, when you're waking up. That's pretty simple to do. And then just start logging what you're eating. And oftentimes I have patients bring in food journals and they're like, well, I thought I was eating pretty good till I started writing it down. And then they realize that, okay, this was a slip up today. This was an autopilot today. Well, that was my friend today. And then we're back to the zoo animals and we're feeding zoo animals because we're busy and we're social beings. And then next thing we know that we are actually in a statistic, which means we're pre-diabetic. We actually have increased weight we don't desire. We're having lots of pre-inflammatory signs all over our bodies. So I am thankful that you guys joined me tonight. I'm thankful for Dr. Teresa for shouting out some of her notes. And I know it's late for everybody, but we're just kind of wrapping up. I've got 3 more days to share with you guys, but we travel tomorrow. But just think about that. Where are you in your health journey? Like, where is your body in resilience? Like, how much has it been beat up? I know Josh Collins has been through lots of, he surfed several tours. He's had lots of CTEs. He's had lots of traumatic brain injury, concussion wise. So at some point, what is that point where your body doesn't recover as fast as we want it to? That can be said for also someone, remember, I'll do it to this. Maybe you trained for marathons when you were in your early 20s and early 30s, and you took a decade off because you were having babies and you got married and you got a great job, and then you forgot to exercise. And then you tried to go back and you took that decade off from running or working out. How resilient is your body? How fast can you get back in shape? That's the same when it comes to losing excess body fat. We know it's super hard on our liver, our heart, and our kidneys to have on that extra weight. So if you're a person who's yo-yoed your weight, I'm talking about that because I think over 70% of Americans are obese, which is more than 30% body fat. How resilient is your body? How hard is it to get back in shape? How hard is it to get that body composition that you want? What we know is that we all have a brain. Our brain is alive today as you're on here, as you're living and breathing and sleeping throughout the night and doing your daily activities. You have a choice every day. What is my brain going to have me do? Is it going to have me pick up the food that I shouldn't be eating? Am I going to feed like a zoo animal, or like Jaquita's saying, am I going to start charging into my own health like a rhino? Like, I'm just going to charge it. I'm going to like dodge food, animal stuff out of the way. People are throwing at food at me. I'm going to dodge those drive-thrus. I'm going to dodge that second serving, and I'm going to start taking control of what I'm eating. I'm not going to just eat because I'm bored, I'm sick, I'm lonely, I'm tired, it tastes good, I crave that. I'll start tomorrow because, right, Groundhog Day is a super familiar thing that we all can get caught up in, especially if we do something on a weekend. Like I've got a video on cheating. Should I be cheating? Should I have a cheat day? Like, again, I don't know where that concept came up with, but are you going to be today? Are you going to be ready today? Is your readiness phase right now? Are you going to be resilient? Like how much has your body gone through the aging process, or how much inflammation has happened? How long have you been out of shape? And then really the great thing is that hope that your body can recover, right? You can chop off part of your liver, you can break your arm, the body should heal. You can actually, if your heart goes bad, you can get a pacemaker. There's amazing things in the medical society, but your body is actually a unique individual being. It actually wants to heal. That's why we eat every day. Our body's its own pharmacy. So when you can start identifying where those imbalances are, then your body actually has an amazing ability to start healing. So when you identify imbalances, just look at very simple things. Am I getting at least 7 hours of sleep at night? And that's not like laying in bed 7 hours, only sleeping 2 hours because the TV's on, you read a book. That's like, am I getting 7 hours of sleep? Because sleep is that secret weapon where your body rejuvenates, it regenerates, your hormones recover. And then am I waking up in that state of happiness or gratitude? Because maybe you are sleeping 7 to 9 hours, but throughout the day you're having a lot of negative attitude. And then we're going to talk about diet. We can talk about diet every single day. Then we know that actually plays a huge issue in hormones and your brain pre-shrinking. And we talked about even like PCOS being diabetes of the ovaries. So I got a little video on that. But thank you guys again for joining me and hopping on. Let me know what questions you have. Let me know what you want to hear about. I'm super inspired after my long weekend. I've got a lot of things in my head, but I want to make sure when I look through past videos videos that I target what you want to hear about, because you actually inspire me to be a better doctor, a better mom, a better friend, because I do want to reach out to you guys as friends and people I care about, because I know in my clinic I'm only limited to so many hours a day, and if I can use this platform called social media, help inspire people to be better and help provide them with tools and resources that they need, because we're all unique individuals, then that's my mission and purpose right there in a nutshell. So thank you guys again for joining me. I will post a food diary down below. Please print it off and just write it down. If you want to post it next week, post. If you want to post it in a couple days, post it. It's really for you to see what you're really doing, because again, oftentimes we are eating like zoo animals. We're feeding like zoo animals, whether we're feeding ourselves or we're feeding others around us. Oftentimes we are super guilty of that. So I do challenge you guys to do a food diary. Again, thanks for joining me. I cannot wait to hear from you, and I will check in with you guys soon. And everyone, I saw you, safe travels home, April, and